Please welcome the incredible Bijal Patel.
Woo! Yay! Thanks for having me, Renee. I'm so excited to be here.
Remind me where you are. Is it Houston?
Yes, got it.
Wait,
Houston,
okay.
Texas.
I love it. I don't think I've ever been to Houston.
You should come.
I know I should come. We met at, if my memory serves me, we met at the Elite Entrepreneur event in where was it?
Dana Point.
Dana Point. Dana Point. That was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah. November of last year.
Oh, wow. Right. That was a good time. So I was like bebopping in and out of the room. I wasn't really attending the event. I was there kind of on a little retreat and I met you. And I thought you were so fabulous because you were the best kind of energy
Oh.
and you bring such charisma into a room. I was like, I want to be friends with that girl.
Mm.
And here we are. Now I can't get rid of you.
Mm.
And you send me really killer mugs in the mail.
Yes. Winning. It's good
That's
giftology.
That's it. And here's what I love about women our age is like we've lived enough of a life to know when there's BS in front of us. So to
Mm-hmm.
say that we can become quick friends is like it's not fake because we just cut straight to the chase.
100%. I
And
felt
you're
the
a
same way when I met you at the event. Like I just felt this energy and connection being around you. And I was like, I like really like her. And we have mutual friends too, but
we do.
I felt the same energy back.
We do. And our mutual friends are so cool. They've been on the show too. So, anyways,
Yes.
I like my internet friends that are also real life friends. So, welcome to Into the Wild.
Mm.
You're a wild mama. You're a wife to a really cool dude that I had the honor of meeting as well,
Mm.
and an entrepreneur. So, tell us a little bit about what got you into branding.
Total accident.
No,
Total accident. Yeah. So I
it's
was
like the slipped and tripped and fell on the branding kind of
yeah,
thing.
kind of like that actually. Like totally not formally qualified to do this, yet amazing at it. So it was 2020. I had got fired from my well-paying job as a corporate interior designer. And no, sorry, 2019. I got fired from my well-paying job as a corporate interior designer. I had two little kids and I had to do something. So in 2020, I joined an online mastermind and I was like going to bring interior design to the online space. My thinking was like, okay, COVID has everyone forced to work from home. So they're going to need to convert their offices, right? Their home offices. They're going to need to make desks and, turn playrooms into offices. And it's going to need to be ergonomic. And they're going to have to buy monitor stands and height adjustable desks. And they're going to need better chairs. I just pictured this all. So my friends and family were like, yeah, that's amazing. And I'm like, yeah, this is going to work. Yet, like, it's the typical your friends and family are like, let's go. And then, like, they also don't buy it. So I'm in this online mastermind. I'm trying to sell interior design online. And I'm like learning what organic marketing is. So I'm scrolling Facebook and I just see like post after post of like, check out my new logo. Do you like option B or C? And there'd be like, hundreds of comments. And I'd be like, C, I like none. Like this branding is like totally detestable. Like who did this? And what is Fiverr? What is this? Like, what are you online businesses doing? Because I came from a long record of working for Fortune 500 companies as an interior designer. And so I just literally accidentally started selling branding to be like, let me just fix this because this is not good. And this is not what your brand is supposed to look like. And lo and behold, I gave it 3 months and now it's been 4 years since we
Dude.
transitioned.
So, did you charge people in those early days?
Oh, heck yeah. Cause I was,
Okay.
yeah, I was like 37, dude. I was charging people.
Yeah. And was it like an hourly thing? Did you have any sort of idea of like
My
packaging and
My first package was like $3,500.
okay.
And I'm still friends with that guy. And he literally told me, he's like, the reason I bought your package is because I could tell that you had no idea how big you were gonna get. And I wanted to get you when you were at the cheapest you'd ever be. So
There you go. You do. Isn't it awesome when people know? And so
yeah.
now you work with who and what do you do?
I work with established business owners. So anybody who is at 20K revenue months or more. who is impact focused and has a desire to build a brand that's bigger and is focused on something mission related, vision related, and they're driven by their values. So this usually encompasses people who are driven to make an enormous impact and they're using their expertise as the vehicle to do it. That's our most ideal avatar.
Gotcha. Okay. Now I want to know. So branding is such an interesting thing because a lot of people I know think of it as your logo, your fonts, your colors. And I know it extends way beyond that. But
Mm-hmm.
what is your, right off the bat, your unpopular opinion about branding?
My unpopular opinion about branding is that color psychology is total BS.
Why?
Total BS. It's like pretending the horoscope is going to tell you your future. Like, sure, I'm a
Don't lie to
Taurus.
me. It does.
Sure, I'm a Taurus. And yes, I have some attributes, but every time I pull up the Taurus horoscope for the day, it's not going to be my entire future. So when people pretend that, for example, blue is known to mean trust. If trust was only indicated by the color blue, every logo we'd ever have would be blue.
So banks, there's a lot of banks that are blue, but there's also a lot of banks that are red.
And there's a lot of banks that are green who don't want to look like the blue or red ones. So if color psychology were to work, we would understand that everyone would pick the same thing because it always meant the same thing, but it doesn't.
So what
And
about
so,
green? Like anything eco is green, right?
which is a problem.
Right. Why is it a problem?
Because then what you're doing, have you ever wanted to stand at a party and then you went to the party and realized everyone was wearing black, but you were hoping to stand out?
But you were wearing black. Why would you choose black?
I'm just saying you pick any color. Let's say you pick
Oh,
a color and then you just fade into if you look at a room full of people and if everyone is dressed exactly the same, let's say it's not color. If
yeah,
everyone's dressed exactly the same, you're never going to stand out.
yeah.
Our eye and our memory picks up on the things that are unexpected or a bit unpredictable.
Right. So is that this just dropped in? Would that be the reason why there's kind of like these fads of like typography fads of like there used to be like a couple years ago it was kind of like the 70s vibe retro and everyone was rebranding in retro and now they're moving back to like 1990s style logos. Would that be why? Because they're just trying to get away from being the
Yep.
same?
Yeah, exactly. So fashion leads and then design follows. So those trends are necessary because people in your audience, the thing that's important about branding, the visual side of branding, is your audience wants to see something fresh because it's appealing, it's intriguing, and it catches their attention, right? Because branding falls underneath marketing. So just the same way that fashion revolves, every few months, fast fashion gets its inspiration from the formal runways, right? In like Italy and France, and they're looking at the big fashion houses. They get their inspiration and they create fast fashion. So people start wearing that stuff. But a quarter later, people are kind of tired of looking at the same things. The seasons change, the styles change, and then people want to update their look.
Yeah, that's true. I resisted so long to buy like the original like painter's pants, like the
Mm-hmm.
big wide legs. And now I'm like finally got a couple pairs that fit this tall woman. And now it's like potentially starting to fade away. Now I'm like, now I
Mm-hmm.
have all these pants that are no longer going to be cool. Right.
But they'll come most of the time with fashion. Things end up cycling back, and the same is true. So, like that retro style that you're talking about, that was in like in 2021, all the vintage, they're like vintage retro, like revamped. Modern. It was called modern retro was the movement.
Okay.
So the thing that's interesting about that when we're talking about font styles is that it will evoke a past, and that past will typically be 20, 30, 50, or 100 years in the past. So to reflect on that, like picture interior design, because that's what I did for 13 years for corporate America, Fortune 500 companies. That's literally what I did. I designed big headquarters, hotels, restaurants, gyms, all that kind of stuff. So when you look back, all of the mid-century modern stuff that ended up really came into style 50 years later. Like in 2000, everything was mid-century modern. People loved that style of furnishings, that style of architecture, that style of interior design. And then you move forward like another 10 years, and then people were so into like the 20s. They wanted everything related to like the roaring 20s and evoke from that period of time. So it's just so cool to see that after a certain amount of time passes, there's almost a nostalgia to feel backward of what did that feel like during that time.
Yeah.
Except for, I would say, like, there's always like faux pas, like the 1960s and 70s, that like horrible, like puke avocado green, like that hasn't come back. That hasn't
No.
made its way
And
back.
the shag rugs, they tried to make an entrance. They came back a little peeled back because we don't really
Yep.
want to rake our rugs these days.
Yeah. And it's not sanitary. So I
No,
think people just got like, ugh, away from those.
I know it is kind of gross. Ew, when I think about it, I don't think we had no, we didn't have a shag rug.
Yeah.
This is so interesting. So then what are your predictions for trends coming up now, especially when it comes to branding and business?
So, okay, let's define this a little bit, because people, when I say the color psychology thing, they're like, "Well, what?" Because like my branding girl or my graphic designer or my brand strategist put a board together for me, and then this meant this and that meant that. It was like, let's just understand the thinking behind it. It's more convenient for you to believe something so they can get an approval on what the palette is. So like there are levels to people who are playing a game or are in a service. There's levels to the game. So the easiest path to tell a client that this is the direction we want to go is by telling you that blue means trust and we want to evoke trust because that's going to create more conversions. So that's just to tie that into a bow. So as we talk about future predictions and like trend analysis, which I'm exceptional at, the way that we're going right now, trends oftentimes will actually follow socioeconomic political movements.
Oh,
It's so much
so
deeper.
are we going to start having like orange haired comb overs?
I don't predict that, but I'll tie it back, at least for what's going on over here in America, is when you have political instability, what ends up happening is you'll see that the sense of design, which also reflects the messaging, will go back to something that is more tried and true and tested. So there will be less like playfulness. There will be less like open range. There will be less like it will become more serious, and it'll be something that evokes legitimacy and timelessness. And so what does that mean in branding language? That means like the classics of like going back to sans serif, going back to serif, mixing those two types together, keeping word marks pretty clean, keeping the design elements that go with things more minimalistic and more timeless. So like monograms come back. So there will be more legitimacy, sophistication, seriousness, and a desire to edit out the frills.
Oh
That's
no,
my
I
prediction.
like the bright colored boldness. That's who I am. So let's double click on that, right? Because like now there's like this need to want to brand according to predicted trends, which is good. But also, how do you keep that sense of your authenticity in all of this?
So when we talk about something like trends, I'll take it back to the house so it makes more sense.
Okay.
So just because a trend is happening, for example, Pantone, the best color system out there, or one of the most famous color systems out there, Pantone is going to tell you what the color of the year is. That doesn't
I
mean you're
painted
going to.
walls that color. I still love
Okay.
them.
So what year was that you painted that?
It was 2022.
Okay. And what color was it?
It's like a light green, like a light green.
Okay. Okay. Got it. So that's a great example. So 2022, we painted, we loved that color. It felt like us and it embodied where we wanted to go. So we painted the color.
Yeah.
Well, Pantone also came out with a color in 23. They came out with a color in 24, but you didn't go back and paint all your walls again, right?
No, it's too much work.
And it's also like there's a moment in time when you're going to brand and you're going to be looking for inspirational sources, but you don't want to constantly be just like a spinner who's spinning and has no idea where it's going to land or stay. So I think a house is a much better metaphor to think about, hey, I picked these colors, I picked this style of furnishings, and this represents me, but you're not going to just switch it every season to be like, I'm going to just change everything in my house to a different style.
Yeah, like
so
the 2024 Pantone color of the year is peach fuzz.
Yeah.
It's great, but I would never paint a wall that color.
and that may not be your jam. So
Yeah.
even if there's what it means by having and looking at trends is that everyone who is rebranding right now, you might start to see a new flair take over for people who are in 2024 we're getting branded. So
Mm.
that's going to look different than they did in 2022. So if the optimism or the pessimism of a market changes, the bullish or bearish nature changes, some of this actually does have influence. That's one part of the influence. The other part of the influence where you're asking about, well, I love the frills, I love bold colors.
Yeah.
That's also related to the industry. So, I mean, you are a PR expert, you know how to do marketing, you know how to position people. Like PR people in general are in the land of fun. Like there's just nothing that's going to take away from that. Like
Yeah.
fashion people are in the land of fun, interior designers in the land of fun, artists are in the land of fun. There's certain industries that are always going to be more creative and cutting edge.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. The land of fun. And okay. Mm, when it comes to branding, so we just like refreshed our podcast maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and I love it. But
Hmm.
you start to get tired of these things sometimes.
Hmm.
When and how do you rebrand, or do you even rebrand? Is it important?
It's so important. And I think people often don't know the cadence or they're not willing to look at the cadence that they rebrand. So I didn't want to use fashion then because you're going to buy new clothes quarterly at least. You know, if you're a woman, you're going to buy new clothes quarterly. You may keep some of your staples and wear them for years and years, but you're going to refresh on a quarterly basis. For branding, you want to do a bit of a facelift every 1 to 3 years. You want a bit of a facelift done. And every 5 to 7 years, you want to take a look at like, is this an overhaul? Is this going to be an extreme makeover? And it's a much bigger take of like, hey, how is this? How's the outward expression of our brand looking?
So the Lindsay Schwartz, she has an incredible community called Powerhouse Women. I went to her event in Scottsdale.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the event this year was to showcase their new branding.
Mm.
And I kind of forget what the old one looked like, but I remember seeing the new logo on the backdrop of the stage. And part of the P of Powerhouse comes out of the picture, and that's done intentionally. But it almost looks like a mistake. And it's
Mm-hmm.
also a font that I don't like at all.
Mm.
And so I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, I do not like this, but I really admire her style. So what was the reasoning behind this? And
Mm.
so I've been curious about this, but now the more that I look at it, the more it's kind of catchy. It's not like
Mm.
I love it right away, but
Mm-hmm.
now I see it and I do like it.
Mm. So it grew on you.
It did, but also because I like Lindsay and the community. But like,
Mm-hmm.
what would go through your mind in these instances? She probably worked with a professional, obviously, who had
Mm-hmm.
all the reasoning to do what they did. Like, I don't even know the question that's coming to me in this now, but like, how do you make a judgment call on the next version of your brand?
I think that's when like the expertise of being a designer comes in. And there's a part of design. So the difference between design, I just looked up the Powerhouse Woman
Eh,
logo. I don't know all the story behind it, but let's talk about the difference between art and design. So, art
Okay.
you're doing based on what your own desires are and your own creative idea of what beauty looks like. And you're putting it out into the world, whether quote unquote you're going to make money or not. Whoever finds your art will appreciate it and then they will purchase it. So like art pieces get commissioned because they see you as an artist, they like your style, and the artist retains most of the creative control. What design is more of a transaction based, a business based approach. Design is somebody needs a logo done, a brochure done, a piece of signage done, a website done, and they are looking to hire someone who can understand what their business needs are, how they want to be presented and projected into the world, because branding is perception at the end of the day. They want to be perceived in a certain way and attributes. So somebody might want to look sophisticated, timeless, professional, and trustworthy. Another brand might want to look hip, unexpected, bold, kitschy. Those
Yep.
are two completely different brands. And the
Yep.
concept of design is you are being hired by somebody to extract out what is the ethos of that brand and what is the perception they want curated. What do they want to be received as? So the designer's job is the ability to take what the client wants, mix it in with their own style and design talents and capabilities, mix it up together. So it's a science and an art process, and then output something that ideally a client should love, but their market should love it more.
Mm.
It's beyond personal taste. So a lot of times with our clients, just to give you a tangible example, if our client tries to push the design direction too hard, it's almost like their hand is on the steering wheel, but they're asking us to drive. We'll respectfully be like, hey, I know this is really fun and it feels like it's you because you're a founder and you're a small business owner, but the brand that we started with and what we want to build, we want it to attract our most ideal avatar. So if you also love it, that's what we're going for. But our main purpose is to attract in the exact ICP1, ideal client profile number one. We want to stand out against your competition, back to the, wait, what happens if my color is different and everybody's wearing this? We want to stand out against the competition. So all of those people in the eco space doing green and then you do green again, you're not memorable. So the brand recall fails, if that makes sense.
Totally.
So we will respectfully take their hand off the wheel by directing them that our job is to know your industry, know your competitors, and know where the brand is going, and ideally strike that perfect permutation in a 2-inch by 2-inch square with an infinite amount of combinations and permutations where it evokes the spirit of the future and the vision of the brand. Where is this brand going in 10 years? And also makes the client feel like, wow, that's me.
Oh, wow. So I remember when Dan was going through his branding where he got the mountains,
Mm-hmm.
and now these iconic mountains for his logo, was his designer Rich Gould has been working with him and us forever, like for as long as I've known Dan, so 14 years. And he wanted to create some sort of branding around SaaS Academy, which has now kind of evolved into Martell Media. And what looks like mountains is actually the top of his signature. It's like the cut off top part of his signature. So I remember I was on the presentation as Rich was pitching us this idea. And I was like, oh gosh, it can go really bad or really good, in the sense that once they, show us the logo, that it's going to be something that we love or hate. Because I hardly believe there's anything in between. And as soon as we saw it, we're like, oh my God, yes, that's it. That's totally it. And then he said, that's the top of Dan's signature. He just cut off the bottom.
Oh.
And I said, wow. And then he goes on, he has like all these different variations of how this logo is used. And it was so beautiful because A, it stands out, it's unique, but B, it's so personal because it is a part of him. And now that logo can be used for SaaS Academy, Martell Media, all of them, all the companies he has now. And I loved that. And like, I went through this process for the revamping of my podcast, that the first 2 versions of the cover I never loved, because the first one I was in a black like suit jacket, which I never wear. It just so happened to be a photo shoot I did with a photographer. And he happened to have, like he does a lot of headshots. So he had the rack of jackets that everybody wears. And I threw it on and I was like, it was a darker, older version of me. And then V2 was just kind of like the best picture of a photo shoot that I did, but it still wasn't what I wanted to achieve. And I worked with other people and I just couldn't get it across the finish line. So finally I was like, I'm going to do this myself. And I went into Canva. I organized a really cool photo shoot. I went into Canva and I started creating variations of what I wanted. Then I worked with the designer to just bring it all home. And that was the best way for me to, because I'm terrible explaining these things, but that was the best way for me to tell her what I wanted. And then she presented an idea and we tightened it up a couple times and ta-da, that's where it, and I love what it is now. I love it so much that I actually got custom neon sign finally in my podcast font, because behind me I have the We Wild Women, which is my business name. And I finally have the font, the custom neon font. I got a find a time to put that up. But it's happening. All this to say is that the journeys have got to be so unique for each person that you work with. Because some people are like probably totally hands off. I trust you, you do it. And then there's other people that want their hands in the pot.
Yep, totally. And I saw your sign, Into the Wild, and I thought it was gorgeous. I thought it was really well done.
Thank you.
Beautiful. But that itch that you have of like you get tired of your own branding, you can make tweaks. Like when you look at like Apple's logo, like you look at the evolution of Apple's logo or Volkswagen logo, you can take note, even if you're not a Fortune 500 company, you can look at the leaders and see every couple years they're revamping something, but it doesn't look like it's a complete, no one's going to have any idea who you are. So after they get the base set in, most big companies are going to want to keep the brand equity for what they've already established as their visual identity there. So, so when it comes, I've lost track. Sorry, I totally lost track of the question you asked.
Just about the visual identity. But you know what? Let's move on because I do have other questions that I want to ask you because there's one thing about the word mission.
Yeah, because there's a whole strategy part related to design and we've only covered the visual part.
Yeah. Well, I like the idea of mission. So like I asked you, like, what is the one question I should be asking you about branding? What is it that you truly, truly do for people? It's not like pretty things prettier. You said that you help people find their mission and then you extract that and package it up for people. How does mission mix with branding? And does one come before the other? How does that work?
Yeah, great question. So it's when we talk about brand, the best way I can explain it to people is using a metaphor of cake. So the brand part that we just talked about is a part that people are used to. We've got We Wild Women in the back. We've got me with my cool launch hat. That's all visual part of design. That's logos, that's colors, that's fonts, that's graphic elements. Those are pit branded photography. That you can think of as a frosting on the cake. The inside of the cake, the whatever flavors it is, what ingredients were used, were they natural, were they gluten-free, were they imported in from Italy, how was this specifically cooked? That's all the brand strategy. So the cake part of it is the brand strategy part. So if you've ever had a wedding cake, you've experienced this before where you just brush off the fondant. No matter how beautiful it is, fondant is not going to beat a buttercream cake, no matter how beautiful it looks. But ideally, if you're just eating a cake to enjoy a cake, you're going to want both to work together. You're going to want to make the cake awesome, and then you're going to want the texture and the flavorings and the ingredients, but you want it to also interplay with the frosting. So, and the proportions are correct. So 90% of a brand's success of did we help this brand find its voice, convey integrity, to show it case itself in a coherent, cohesive way across all platforms, all messaging, all of the voice that's included with a brand, which you know so well. Does this sound like the brand? Does this feel like us? Does this represent where we're going super well? That is 90% is the strategy and 10% is the frosting that you see on the outside.
Wow. And we only see like the iceberg. We only see the tip of it. But I love how
that's why you're like, what bothers you about, what's the one thing that bothers you about branding? I'm like, that people are into color psychology because it's like worrying about this silly thing. And we have so much further to go that literally sets people's hearts and veins like on fire. People feel explosive after we dial in and get their brand strategy and voice correct.
Okay, but let's be clear though. Color still does matter.
It does matter. Yeah. It's both and. It matters like 10%. The visual identity matters like 10%. The 90% of it is the depth. A lot like a person. Is it the person that matters or does it how they look? Is that what it matters? Well, if you look cute and I think you look nice, I'm like, wow, you look really nice. Yeah, people do judge a book by its cover. You do get more compliments if you're fit and you're dressed well. And, the same difference of if you're going to put a little effort into date night and you do your hair and you put on some lipstick maybe and you put on a dress, like you're going to look nicer and that's going to be reflected in the compliments you receive, the attraction you have. But the real end of the day, it's the depth of you that matters. So it's a both and there's a lot of nuance there.
Okay. And so I want to talk about branding beyond like the logos, the colors, the fonts,
Mm-hmm.
beyond even personal branding.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I think of branding too, nowadays everybody's their own brand.
Mm-hmm.
Your inherent personality is your brand. What you believe in, like even if you're a Christian, um, if you drive a certain car, like all these things are all part of a brand. Is that
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, actually, I have a framework that's going to make this like totally click
Okay.
in. So it's called the trifecta of branding. And so if I happen to be driving around and listening, picture a triangle in your mind, and the top of the triangle is your personal brand. The bottom right of the triangle is your business brand, and then the bottom left of the triangle are your products or your services. So I'll give an example here. So let's just use someone famous and a brand that's famous so it clicks in. So let's just use Apple. The top of the brand, the personal brand, that would be Steve Jobs. On the bottom right, when we think about what's the business brand, that's Apple. Then we go to the left side of the triangle and the products and services. Well, that's all the iSuite, iPhone, iPods, all of their Apple products are then the actual products. And that trifecta together is what makes the brand. And the center of that triangle, that's your positioning in the marketplace.
So how does that work if you could create that trifecta for a personal brand? What would that look like? So let's just say you're a coach.
Mm-hmm.
You're a like fitness coach or you're a business coach or a nutritionist. What would that triangle look like?
Okay, so let's use coach as an example.
Okay.
So if you're a coach, the top part will be your personal brand. Any coach that is really building a brand and doesn't just want to be a solopreneur has at least, if they don't have an actual company name, like a brand name, they have at least a program name. So we would put the program there. And then on the other side of that, there would be some products or courses or books or maybe they're selling supplements, something there that then supports their program, that then supports their personal brand.
And then in the middle is still the same thing.
It's still the same. It's their positioning in the marketplace. So imagine, let's just use fitness coach as an example. Let's say there is a woman, her name is Rachel, and she is a fitness coach to women who are 30 to 50 years old, who are already pretty fit, but are looking to get into their top 1% body. And maybe many women are looking for like more musculature. They want abs. They have really high fitness goals. She's going for the top 1% woman. So the woman's already fit. She's not coming in to lose weight. She's coming in to like define her body and sculpt it. That's what her personal brand is evoking. She then has a program that's called Top 1% Women's Top 1% Body. That's her program. And so these elite women who are attracted to her, which means her voice, how she shows up when she's traveling, how does she eat, what does her body look like, what are her habits and routines. So they're attracted to that program. They're in a program and they're in that community. So we talked about powerhouse women, right? Mm-hmm. There's a community to that. So that's over there. And then on the other side of it, this woman, since she's appealing to the top 1%, may have already decided to manufacture her own supplements. So she's got her own formulation of supplements because she realizes without the gut health, without the right balance of what the women's supplements are, we're not going to take a woman who's in the top 3% and bring her to a top 1% body without testing in supplements. So then she has that brand too.
Okay. Oh, how important is this when you're starting a business? Is this what you need to do before you ask for the first dollar? Where
No,
does
no,
this
no.
fit in?
Yeah, let me, does that make sense? So before I move on
Oh
past
yeah,
that,
no,
just,
and
okay.
I'm a kinesthetic learner, so I needed to visualize that.
Okay.
But
So like another example that real quick, and I'll hop onto that is that the same can be true for a personal brand, a program or a service or a course. And then there could be a podcast brand. There could be, this person could be a keynote speaker. So this person can there's always usually a third arm of something that they're representing to make that personal brand come to life.
Gotcha.
Because if you're in this state, which is normal and takes me to your beginner question, If you're in the state with every single thing about your business is just represented by you and your brand, you're actually a solopreneur. You're not really ready to be a brand. You're using your personal brand as your business brand and your product brand because you don't have that developed yet, which is totally fine.
Got you.
Right.
Okay.
So back to your question. No, this is not super important for people just starting up. This is critical though for people who are at 20K months and looking to evolve past it. So when you are first starting out, the most important thing about your brand is that you're clear on your offer. Who is your most ideal avatar? And what are you going to do in terms of messaging to make sure you get yourself out there? So we specifically will not allow people into our higher tier programs who are at 20K or less a month because they don't realize that branding at that stage is just a shiny object.
Got you. I'm just writing this down because you're making me think deep about the trifecta of the me, the thing, and then the thing.
So for you, example, we've got Renee Warren, the
Yeah.
personal brand. Then we have We Wild Women, award-winning PR strategist, all the fancy things that you do. And then we have Into the Wild podcast because your podcast is a premier top 1% podcast.
Yeah. Say that
You,
again.
you've,
Yeah.
you've
We are top
earned,
1%.
you have earned that. So that's actually literally, that can be a product or service of yours because you're creating community through that over there.
love
So
it.
that's like one of your trifectas. And you can make multiple trifectas. But what I ask people to do when I'm speaking at events is I actually have people just write it down. And it's amazing because, like I mentioned with Apple, there was the iPhone, there's the iPods, there's their computers. They have all the different version of what's underneath. So when we talk about product and services, you can list out all the different things that you have.
There you go. Okay, so let's roll back to like when this is important because this stuff, like I just jotted this down for free in a notebook right now. Thanks
Good.
to you.
You're welcome.
But when is it important that this stuff is dialed in when you're starting a business?
At 20K months, 20K revenue months is the
so.
point that you want to. Yep.
So this is like so product-based stuff, you kind of need the branding from the beginning. It's kind of a part of product. So service-based is kind of like go out, close the deal. Right?
Yep. And what I recommend for those people who are less than 20K months, I do recommend just going on to Upwork and getting a word mark made. Just get something really simple made. Do not go past 2 colors. The less design, the better, because people on Upwork are not sophisticated with design. So they tend to over design, and over designing your first logo and your brand identity. It's actually called brand identity because it means so much more than a logo.
Yeah.
It's a visual representation of your brand and your services and your products.
You can I have this because I'm creating a PR curriculum for a real estate agent who teaches other realtors and brokers how to grow their influence. So I'm actually custom creating a curriculum for them. And I'll have to put it in the show notes or something, but there's Canva. You can use Canva for this. And there's a step-by-step process for you to go out and put together something that represents who you are.
You can do that too. Yeah, you can do that too. I would say not everyone has the skill though to even put together something basic. Sometimes even people who can dress really well, it doesn't translate. So if you know you're the kind of person who like the fonts and the colors and the design don't make sense, you can go to Upwork and just get that done for a few $100. But that's my recommendation, is just get the name, spend time trying to figure out what the right name is. That's important. We don't want to have to change that later, but we can. I change people's companies' names all the time. And then you just get you get the simplest package done that you can, and make sure you ask for the actual Adobe Illustrator file. You want the live file. You don't just want the graphic, because then the resolutions and stuff will all get messed up. So that is the minimal bootstrapped method to get going with branding, the visual side that you need, just so you can put it on a contract or you can put it on something. So that's a way to get that done without losing focus from the main thing, which is offer, audience, and messaging.
You know what else is kind of fun, because your audience actually likes to be involved in this journey, is have them help you decide on a final logo. I did this with my podcast.
Mm.
Not this time, because this time I knew what I wanted, but last time,
Mhm.
indecisive, and I had like 3 variations that I could go with. And I actually put it on a poll on Instagram and then
Mhm.
emailed my newsletter and I just said, "What do you guys think?" And they helped me decide. That's
And
fun.
that's
It's engagement. People love being a part of that journey.
They do. Yeah, they do. And I might comment on it and be like,
Yeah.
D, none of the above.
Yeah.
And so, so don't take it personally, but it's totally fine to bootstrap at the beginning.
Totally. So then fast forward, now you're making 20K a month. Congratulations. And you really want to knock this out of the park. How does stellar branding help you monetize your offers and raise your prices?
Well, that's when we go back to the cake analogy, but I'll start with visuals because it's easier to imagine. So when we all know the saying that don't judge a book by its cover, because you absolutely judge a book by its cover.
No, you
Like,
don't. Of course you do.
what?
Yeah.
Right? So, like, when you are getting dressed up for your wedding day, I'm going to guess you look different than after the end of a workout.
No.
Or you exact
Oh,
same.
I always look that great. My hair looks that beautiful every single time.
Every single time.
Thanks to
So,
filters on Instagram, 100% I do. I look that great all the time. But yes, okay, carry on.
So, when you set out a vision of how you look, if you imagine Louis Vuitton or you imagine Chanel, or a lot of people say Tesla, a lot of people want to be associated with Apple because these brands are so well designed and curated that they have mass international appeal because there was a designer behind those that pulled out and was exacting with their craft. So the same way you may look at a bag or you look at a car like a Lamborghini and like I'm not even a car person, but I will turn my head when a Lamborghini or a really nice supercar drives by because
Totally.
they claim your attention whether you wanted to or not.
Because it's rare. That's part of
Mhm.
my authority arc. Number 1 is how are you rare? This is important for
Mhm.
positioning, for messaging, for storytelling. If you
Mhm.
don't stand out, then you're just in the red ocean.
100%. And so then again, back to that idea of like you go to a party, everyone's wearing black. Imagine if you're wearing hot pink, like you
Yeah.
are in your cover of Into the Wild,
Yeah.
right? You've got the black letters, you
Go
have that
get it.
amazing
Yeah.
hot pink blazer on. And that's the difference is that when you stand out and something is beautifully put together and it looks like it's of value, people will then treat something when it looks like it's of value actually the same way. They will treat it commensurate to what they perceive the value to be.
Wow. So my brain just went to this Instagram account that I followed called Yacht Mogul. I'm obsessed. And there's this one guy that was being interviewed. It's like the International Yacht whatever summit happening in Monaco. So you can imagine it's billionaires. He's
Mhm.
like, he knew the net worth of people walking through that door based on what they wore.
100%.
So, but get this. The richest people, the net worth in the billions, are the people that look like they just came out of the gym. They're wearing their tracksuits, no labels. They don't give any Fs. Hilarious. However, there's people like below that, very affluent. They're wearing all their designer stuff. They command that attention. And guess what happens by default? Remember Brittany Frankel? Is that her name? She's like the
Yep.
one of the so she did this whole thing with Chanel. I don't know if you follow her on Instagram.
I do. I love
So
her.
she went into a Chanel store, tried to go in with just her workout clothes on, and they denied her. So then she went the next day wearing all of her Chanel stuff, and they just opened the door and let her in. And then she went on a rant for a long time about this.
Mm,
And it's so interesting how if you show up like you were intentional about looking the part, it commands the attention. And the same goes with branding. If you
a
show up with
hundred
the
percent.
intention of evoking that emotion of feeling trusted or liked or excited, whatever it is you're trying to do, you will command that attention and people either like you or not.
And I think it's like, so back to I love that analogy you gave of the billionaires because people are like, oh my God, look, the billionaire is going to look like the brokest person in the room. They're not going to have the rollie on. They're not going to wear the loafers. They're going to just look like they're almost homeless. Well, look at that billionaire before they
That's it.
became a billionaire, the 10 to 20 years before. You're not going to find the same almost homeless looking guy wearing a Hollister, a Hollister sweatshirt. You're going to find a very different dressed version of the same person. So,
Yeah.
what I recommend, if you're already a bajillionaire, which is your nickname for me,
Yes.
if you're already a bajillionaire and you're good, you're not going to care about any of this stuff. You're past it. You're gone. You don't need it. You're actually trying to hide. The reason they dress like that, Renee, they're actually trying to be incognito because people are shapeshifters around them based on their wealth and they get treated differently.
Look at Justin Bieber.
Right.
My kid has I love him. We all know I love him. No style.
Yes.
No style.
No style. He used to when he was younger, he was all cute and he would doll up. But on your come up, as you're looking to build audience, as you're looking to gain authority, as you're looking to be more visible, and especially because like this podcast is targeted towards women, is women a lot of times will make and pick a stance on I'm going to use the visual part of me to kind of represent who I am because it gives them confidence.
Yeah.
It's not in vainness. It's to say when I put on my red bottom heels, I feel the most confident. When I have my hair and makeup done, I feel like even though I've got the butterfly in my stomach, I'm about to speak, I feel like I look good. So I feel good and I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
So women use it as an extra boost. And so when you think about that in relation to how often should you rebrand, people get this feeling in the pit of their stomach that makes them feel like I like it, but I kind of have outgrown where I'm at because the brand should always be ahead of where you're going.
Ooh, that's good. I like that. Boom. That might be a really great place to just tie the bow, send the package on its way.
Yep.
And by the way, if anybody gets a nose job, make sure that you're friends with Bijal because she'll send you the best mug in the world. Yes. Out of the blue, this mug shows up, guys. And picture this. There's like a picture on the left, like a before, and then the picture on the right's the after. So the before is the words say people with regular noses, and it's just a horse. And on the right, it's Renee's nose or something like that. And it's a unicorn on a dance pole.
Which is represented of your brand and your ethos. So like that's what you ignite in the world.
I loved it. You're like, oh, I don't know if and it was perfect. It was really perfect. Also because I'm very vocal about that procedure. But anyways, I could talk forever and I really loved how we ended this. What a great kind of just tie it all back, branding, which there's a couple things got me thinking of how much I need to be more intentional about how I look going into the public. Cause I'm just so used to like throwing on sweats, a t-shirt because I work from home. I even have like workout shorts on from the waist down. But imagine just showing up with that intention more about like, how do I want to be perceived and how do I want to feel? Like when I'm in my workout gear, I got workout gear mental focus. Like I'm going to work out. Why do I allow that to be all of my day? Because I know when I take a little bit extra, most days it's an extra 15, 20 minutes to actually get dolled up. Why not put on that dress or that shoes and just feel more empowered?
100%.
That's a reminder.
Because what I think to tie that together is like, pick whoever is like one of your role models or one of your I call it your aspirational role models or your aspirational competition. Look at somebody who's got 500,000 or 1 million followers, let's say on Instagram, just to use an example of personal brand. Yeah, well, they have once in a while, they'll have an off take where they're just walking in their gym clothes. They have no makeup on. Absolutely. But most of the time, they've got their hair done, their makeup done. They are put together in their style. And like, I think of Cody Sanchez and I'm like, wow, she's so smart. She just is beautiful too. Yeah. She doesn't have to dress up for me to pay attention to her, but why does she? Well, it just feels like it's all put together and it's packaged. Yeah.
That's like my friend locally, Anita Parker. She's always glammed up
Mm.
for every event. She always looks good. She looks the part and she's just very charismatic. And I admire that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great reminder because we are all walking personal brands. If you are an entrepreneur, you're a founder of a company, you are a brand. Let's not deny that. What is something we can do? What's the little
Mm-hmm.
thing? Like my husband has the Dan Martell tuxedo. It's a joke. It's the same blue t-shirt
He
and pants.
does.
The
He
same.
really does.
I need to take a picture of his closet because you guys will laugh. We went out for my surprise birthday dinner the other week and he wore the
Mm.
purple version of that shirt. He never wears it. He wore it for me. And somebody commented right away when they saw him, it's nice to see Dan and not a blue t-shirt. He doesn't care because his mindset is if there's one less decision I have to make in the morning, the better. So he just knows what he's wearing every single day. And that's what it is. And people observe it. And it's just, they only expect to see him in those clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a certain brand that he wears. And they just gets the same thing ordered every quarter. Boom, boom, boom. Maybe they'll throw an extra different color t-shirt. So all that being said, is there something that, think about for us? What is the thing that we can do to create that personal brand? It could be maybe I'm always going to wear pink, right? Or maybe you're going to wear a set of glasses, like really bright colored red glasses. There's something that becomes almost like your alter ego. It
Mm.
becomes something that you're representing, maybe the future version of yourself. I love that. And I see people do it and they crush it. And then it's memorable.
Mm-hmm. Like Mel Robbins with her glasses.
Exactly. Mel Robbins.
Yeah.
I love Mel
So
Robbins.
I'm gonna say something here, but I want to make an enormous caveat here because we just talked a lot about a woman's appearance, and I just want to caveat this and speak light. You do not always need to be put together to feel absolutely batty and empowered in who you are. So choose what feels right for you. And it feels awesome to get put together and dolled up. And that feels like a direction you might want to take your brand. Perfect. This is for you. But if you're somebody who feels really authentic in just being raw and just showing up, and that's not a part of who you feel like you have to become that to become bigger, I would not take that piece of advice. I would just own who you are. And that's our podcast name is Own Your Brand. So just
There you go.
be true to who you are. So me and Renee like to dress up. And so we're talking about that. And a lot of women do. But if you're not of that ilk or you don't like it, or maybe you only like to do it once or twice a week, maybe those are the days you choose to put content in, but you should always own what's right for you. So
100%. Boom. Mic drop. Thank you. I'm out of here now. Just joking.
do you want me to finish with
No,
the
I just what I'm saying.
Oh.
That was beautiful. And I love that.
Thank you.
And I think that is, and I apologize that should be insinuated in this show and episode that everyone just comes as they are. And if you want to get dressed up, do it. It's fun. And if not, that's also okay too. But
100%.
the part of the argument is that, is there something that you could do that is simple as the glasses or as a pink shirt or something? If you're a personal brand and you want to grow and you want to stand out, how are you showing up that's different?
So just speaking to women, how some women do it. So some women do the glasses thing. Some women do a lipstick color thing.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of women. I had a whole phase I went through of the red lipstick phase, and I started to kind of get known for it. But I had to move past it. Some women do it through like long earrings. So they have really big decorative earrings because you want to kind of stay focused on the thing that you pick. You want to stay focused on the thing that is a waist up. Otherwise, people won't see you.
Yeah.
So I've got a thing right now where my nail colors are always going to be something different, and you're just going to be like unpredictable. So I do hot pink, then I'll do red, then I'll do lime green because I'm a talker through my hands. And so you're going to see a lot of that. And now I have like a billion hats that I'm testing for launch because we do this for our clients. So I'm literally just wearing a hat every day. So that's my new thing. I have like 20 at my desk. So I think you can pick that. I think you can pick your hair color. And some people choose to like do that and kind of take that as their thing forward. Or it might be a style. Like You might be the kind of woman who decides that you're always going to wear like a tank top, or you're always going to
Yeah.
wear a fancy blouse that's got patterned and it's got flowers on top. So you might end up
Like Lisa,
choosing to do that.
Bilyeu.
Will you?
She always has like the side hair. I don't know if she still does that. I think anyways, but like the tank top and the big chunky necklace. That's her
She's
thing.
got that. Yeah,
That's her thing.
And she does it, and she does it
She
so
owns it. I
often.
love that.
Yeah, and it's a really big piece of jewelry, so she
It's
wears it
huge.
no matter
Actually,
what.
she inspired me. I was at the Chanel store the other day and I was like, me, I don't think I need that. It looks good, but I can find an alternative. Okay. We could speak all day, girlfriend, but I have one last question for you. When I
Mhm.
ask you, oh, actually, yes, this is it. When I ask you what it means to be a wild woman, what is that to you?
A wild woman is unapologetically confident in who she was and even more enthusiastic about who she's going to become.
Damn. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go.
Okay. So where can people go to find you online?
You can find me on Facebook or Instagram. It's Bijal, Bijal at launch, now that I'm wearing this hat. So Bijal at launch. I'm more active on Facebook than Instagram, or our website, which is www.welaunch.design.
Love it. You are the best. Thank you so much for joining us today.
This was so fun. I love you so much. Branding. If you missed the video version, I just had a bunch of hearts show up just so I can shower Renee with all my
I
love
did not
for
know that
her.
was the thing. So we're
And
on.
her beautiful nose. Shout out to your nose. It
I
just came
can't
out
do
perfect.
it. Love you, sister.
Okay, love you. All right, bye.